There are absolutely different levels of awareness and consciousness. And basically, to describe this or to break this down, what this is that when you are born, all of this programming and stories start to get embedded into you, directly and indirectly. Directly is more messaging from your parents, you're an idiot, or get away from me, you're annoying, or you know, it can be also positive stuff too, right? Like, oh, you're the best, you're amazing, you can do no wrong, right? Positive and negative. And there's also news, right? Society, social media, cartoons, video games, other kids, other families, whatever, right? All these influences that can put stuff inside of you, right? Ideas and stories inside of you directly. And then there's more indirect, where just by living and just by having experiences, you get harmed, or maybe you have little traumas or bigger traumas, or things that cause you fear, things that cause you hurt, etc., etc. And those stories get ingrained inside of you. Those could be stories like, love has to be difficult, I'm not deserving of love, I have to fight for love, love is drama, love is equivalent to drama, I can't trust, I can't open up, I can't communicate about what my needs really are, about what I really need for love, etc., etc., right? All of these things get embedded, all these stories, all these narratives. So all these programs, basically, all these stories, all these narratives, things that are inside of your head, they get put into your nervous system, in your body, in your head. They just become a part of you, right? These things that were never you, they become a part of you, and they dictate how you think, how you feel, how you behave, your literal perceptions, how you perceive reality out in front of you, and can literally shift you from seeing a reality where you could be like, everything's great and I'm fine and it's good and I have a great partner and I have whatever, to literally flipping that and being like, everything's not fine, I don't trust my partner, they are probably doing something behind my back, like I feel insecure in XYZ way or whatever, right? And then that comes out and all these insecurities, fears, like that manifests in all these different actions and behaviors that cause all this negativity, all this drama, all this hurt. It perpetuates itself, right? These narratives and these stories are created, like for instance, I'm not deserving of love. Well, then you're going to act in that way and you're going to create that reality around you just by the way you think, right? Or I can't trust, I've been hurt too many times, I can't trust this other person. You could have an amazing partner. You could have a partner that of all the people you can meet in the world, they are of some of the highest trustworthiness, and it won't matter because you can't trust. You just can't allow yourself to do that. And so likely those insecurities, those fears, that lack of trust is going to come up and it's going to manifest in behaviors that's actually going to drive that person away, or is going to create drama, or is actually going to cause you to betray them, right? Because you feel like trust isn't real. And so you don't think that they are going to be loyal or honest with you or whatever. And so then you are acting in that way, right? You basically embody those feelings. You embody those traits that you are so afraid of and fearful of. And so with awareness and consciousness, there are different levels to this, because if you're not sitting with yourself, right? If you're not taking time to journal, to self-reflect, to go out on long walks, to just watch your brain, right? To just ask yourself, what kind of patterns am I maybe carrying? And no one's ever going to get rid of them fully, right? It's just a spectrum, like how it's a journey. It's a constant process and constant journey. And it's like leveling up, literally like going up in levels as you go on, right? As you continue. And so the different levels of awareness, at the lower levels, you're not even aware of any of those things, right? There are all of these stories, all of these patterns, all of these embedded ideas and programming that are just running you. They're running you more. You don't even know it. You can't even see it. That's that like bottom rung, right? I'm not saying there's actual like hard cutoffs like that, but you get what I'm saying. On that lower end of that spectrum of awareness and consciousness, those programs are more running you. You're not even aware that you have these types of thoughts. You're not even aware that you have some of these insecurities. You're not even aware that you have things to work on, right? And then usually people, and what I've witnessed with this is that I'm a person who's willing to go out into parks for hours and walk around, right? I'm a person who will sit and meditate. I'm a person who will sit in silence. I'm a person who will sit with myself a lot and watch my thoughts and write down things in journal, right? I will watch videos on psychology, right? Like, it's just like wanting to learn, right? Wanting to self-analyze, right? Wanting to try and be more aware, right? And of course there's a balance to this, because there could be too much of that at times. I've done too much of that at times where it's probably not as healthy, right? So it's just a balance. But you also just have to let go and live life, right? And just understand there's always going to be some of these unknown things there. But on the lower end, these things are going to be running, and they are going to be running you, basically, right? These programs, all these inherited things, these almost biased kind of things that will skew your ideas and skew your perceptions on everything you do in your life. Like I said, ideas like, I'm not just loved, I can't just be given love, or I can't just ask for love, or I can't trust people, or I have to fight for what I want, right? It always has to be a struggle. It always has to be stressful. Then when those things come to you, if they could come to you easily, you won't even be able to accept them and be able to like just take them in stride and with grace, like an amazing partner coming into your life, or an amazing new job opportunity, or a chance to be more successful, or whatever. You will block it. You yourself will block it because you've ingrained that into yourself that doesn't happen for you, right? That's not a reality for you. And so you will literally think in ways and act in ways and talk in ways, et cetera, where it will block those things from you. And even if you get it, it will be sabotage, basically, right? And then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy again and again, right? You go, oh, right, the same thing with a partner. Oh, why can't I find a good guy? Why can't I find a good woman? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? And that's just further cementing that type of ideology, right? It's further cementing those types of narratives, right? That it's always failure, I always get hurt, right? Love never lasts, and as you embed that further and further, it's going to drive you further and further into that. And you're going to create more and more of that reality. So this is what we have to be very, very careful of in those different levels of awareness. As you go up, you're going to start to become more aware of those programs, right? You're going to start to kind of catch on to these things and realize, hey, I'm seeing some of these patterns repeating over and over again. Let me not just offshore this and just immediately blame this other person or blame my parents or blame this other stuff. Like, when am I going to sit with myself and stop victimizing myself? Or when am I going to stop externalizing all this shit and actually sit and take a long, hard look at myself? Sit and be willing to sit with myself, sit in the quiet, not always distract myself, right? Like, I've literally seen this in my life where I was with an ex and I was more aware and I saw the patterns and I saw the shit that's happening in a relationship. I was more present with all these things, right? I was trying to address these things. I was trying to get a manage and a hold of these things and sit down and us both come to the table and talk openly and freely and explore these things, right? Explore our past hurts, explore these insecurities, explore these things that are clearly having a negative impact on a relationship. It was so clear to me, and I could see and I can understand the reasons why. I had compassion, I had love. I tried to address it in a loving, calm, respectful way, right? And this other person, they just didn't do what I did, right? So they couldn't come from that level of awareness that I was coming from. They didn't really sit with themselves, right? They were always so busy. They were always doing work and they're always filling their schedule. They're always seeing friends. When they're in the car, they're always listening to something, right? When they're in the gym, when they go for a run, they always have earphones on, right? Whereas me, I would go for a run in silence, right? I will go walk through a park for hours in silence. I will sit and meditate for an hour or two, maybe even longer in silence, to just sit with myself and just be with just me. And just see what my thoughts are saying. Just see what type of patterns are maybe going on, right? In the background, inside of myself that maybe I'm not as aware of. And so this other person who was constantly distracting and watching TV and listening to music all the time and then going out with friends and there's always some event, there's always something to go rush to. It's always like, like that, basically. There's always something, right? She just couldn't sit with herself. I could see it. And I even said it. I was like, maybe you sit with yourself, maybe meditate, like some of these problems, some of these, and she like slowly, very little bits, she was kind of starting to get it. And I would see little glimmers of hope here and there, and then it would go right back. It would go right back into the bullshit, right back into lack of accountability and externalizing things and just throwing a fit and not being able to communicate, not being able to calm down and not be triggered and be able to come to the table and talk to each other calmly, realize we're on the same team. I try to communicate all these things. I tried my best, and like, there's just nothing you can do, right? Like, if you're on that level of awareness, if you're not with someone who's on that same level of awareness with you, they will not see these things. And if you want a high level relationship and you are at a high level awareness, you need somebody at that level to match you, or at least close, right? If they're a little bit below you, maybe even a little bit above you, that would be amazing, right? Like, but like, and it's not even about comparing below or above, right? It's not even trying to make it categorized like that, right? We're not trying to judge in that way or shame or anything like that. It's just breaking down the levels of awareness and consciousness and realizing that if you do not sit with yourself, if you do not take time to sit there and question yourself, to journal, to write, to talk with other people deeply by yourself, to sit with yourself quietly, right? Not always be distracted or always externalizing other things. It's going to be very difficult for you to recognize this programming. And then once you do recognize the programming, you can level up and kind of become above it, and rather than it ruling you,